What kind of a world do we want to live in? This podcast opens the difficult and uncomfortable conversations about crime, addiction, poverty, and more. If we want a healthier community, these messy conversations need to happen. This is Dangerous Ideas for Social Change. All right, welcome to Dangerous Ideas for Social Change. It's great to kind of be back on with you, and I always look forward to these conversations. We're going to do something a little different. Might, in fact, be a dangerous thing. Who knows? I doubt it. But the plan is for me to just sort of talk from my own experience and not be interviewing somebody today. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about this issue of absenteeism and specifically this cultural moment that we're in. And if you watch the documentary, I'm not going to replay the whole documentary because we kind of covered the history there. I kind of just want to do a fast track, kind of walk through where we're at, and then talk a little bit about what I'm noticing about the prospects for the path ahead. So the moment of truth for this whole issue was really 9 years ago where this came to light. And just of interest, we didn't really have the right data, but we had some disparity that we could show. 16% at St. John's versus 4% at Kelvin High. And so it kind of started there, and that was kind of the beginning. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what's, in broad strokes, what's been happening. Between then, back 9 years ago, and now, there's been some patterns, and I want to talk about the patterns. It's sort of been lots of patronizing pats on the head, saying, good for you, doing a good thing, but also a little bit of, that you don't really know what you're talking about. And so we've seen sort of these patterns where nobody seems to be listening. Nobody seems to be taking this issue seriously. Or if they are listening, they kind of take it in and either one are overwhelmed or two are sort of offer up some ideas for what they're going to be doing, and then nothing really happens. And so there's the patterns that persist is there's a continued hiding of data and the dismissal of the truth that is plainly in front of us. It is obvious what's going on, and so when I think about our politicians and particularly I think about Winnipeg One School Division, there's kind of a really strange "trust me, bro, I've got this" approach, and it's very, very difficult to work with that. So there is a pattern to kind of how this issue is being handled that I've noticed in the last 9 years. What first of all happens is that the rebuff or rebuttal to the claim that absenteeism is a problem is that it's said there is no problem. And so this was one of the challenges in the media when I was claiming a 70% absenteeism rate, and Matt Henderson was saying there was a 6% problem. Later, he revised that to 18%. And again, we don't know how that data was, how he was thinking about that, but there's a disparity, a massive disparity. So, but the idea initially is there is no problem. There's nothing to see here. And if it's a 6% absenteeism rate, then I would actually say we should stop working on the issue. 6% absenteeism is, in my mind, acceptable. And now, the problem with that claim was that the moment it hit the light of day, and particularly the moment it hit our community, it got laughed at. I'll just be honest. Nobody believes the claim that there's a 6% absenteeism rate. And so that was kind of the first thing. There is no problem, nothing to see here. The emperor is fully clothed, and so no problem, nothing to see here. So then the next thing that seems to happen when it becomes like you just cannot deny it anymore, then the next stage is they say there is a problem, but we have things in hand. Everything's good. And this is one of the things that happened during my time on the provincial task force under the Conservative government was They would bring in individuals who would tell a story about something that was happening in one of the schools that was having anecdotal success, and then they would say, no problem, we got this. And so the idea that there's a problem, but everything's under control, is simply not true. The truth is that things are getting worse. This week, I got a contact from one of my local connections who said there was a classroom that had registered 28 students and had lost 27 of the students. Now, it could be that that was on a particular day, and maybe the next day there was not one student, but maybe there was 3, or maybe there was 2. We don't know. Again, really, I can't be criticized for not knowing, because this is the whole problem, is that no one is being allowed to know. And so this is a challenge right now where if you're hiding the data, then you can say, okay, there's a problem, but we're dealing with it. But the public and people who are concerned have no way of tracking progress, no way to say, okay, we can see a certain percentage improvement in the issue. But what I've noticed around the denial, like there's a problem, but we have things in hand, is that it's what I would call applied postmodernism. So it's like we speak magical words over and over. We sprinkle a little educational pixie dust on the problem, and our words create reality. It sounds crazy, and it is crazy. And so this is my observation, is that if we can hear, some rousing sort of speech about, how important it is for students to engage, then that somehow makes it real. And I actually have moments where I'm like, am I in the same universe where I just go, I cannot believe that somebody can just by, talking in sort of kind of vague terms and in sort of beautiful terms about the priority this should be and how we want to see it change and we believe it will change, and then thinking that somehow makes the change happen. So it seems like, the primary argument under the, there's a problem, but we got it in hand is kind of under that, trust me, bro category. So it's like, trust me, bro, we got this. Nothing to worry about. And and then if you have nobody asking you to show data or show progress or anything to prove the progress that is claimed or that things are in hand, then this is where we are in this cultural moment. We know what's happening, but we can't know beyond a shadow of a doubt, because this is the whole game. It's moving the ball and hiding the data so that we can't actually get our hands on it. And I have an outlandish request that makes the eyes of any bureaucrat go big as saucers, and that is that I would like to see third-party attendance audits. Somebody outside of either government or the school divisions go in and do a physical count of the number of students in the schools. And then we could move it from sort of this ideological discussion where we're just disagreeing with, what's actually happening and denying certain things. And then and actually have some hard, cold facts. And so let's say we get past that stage and there's an admission that there's a problem, and maybe an admission there's a problem, and we don't have things in hand. Then we get into the stage that's called, I call it DARVO. It stands for deny, accuse, reverse victim, and offender. And so it's sort of a standard strategy for people to kind of survive. Often it's a narcissistic strategy. but where people sort of deny, and then that as the denial's going on, there's no problem. I can't believe you're saying there's a problem. And then there's accusations like someone else is the problem, and then somehow at some point they're sort of reversing the victim and the offender. So obviously, in my mind, the victim is the kid who does not graduate and get an education because they are just unable to engage with their education. And the offender would be the big system that has kind of been going on and on for years with this reality. And so heard somebody speak to me about this issue and kind of imploring us to say, can't you see we're doing our best? Stop being so mean is essentially the kind of the message that I'm hearing. And, again, it sounds kind of petty for me to talk, like in those small terms, but that is literally the experience we're having with only a handful of people who are just feeling like, oh, come on, you guys. It's hard to get kids to come to school, and now you guys are bringing this up, and can't you see we're doing our best? And we do have 50% of the kids that we should have in our school, and it's hard to teach those kids. And some of the kids that are missing, we're kind of actually relieved they're not there because they're really difficult to have in the classroom. And so there's that, guys, stop with this. Stop accusing us of not doing our job, and then just definitely a circling of the wagons to defend against the critique that something's not going well. And so there's a ton more I could say about that, but I want to talk just kind of in again, back to this cultural moment. I would kind of think of this as like the infantilization of society. So we have senior administrators and politicians who know how bad it is, and maybe have conversations within their circle about how to improve it, but they don't think the tax-paying public is old enough to hear about this, and so they feel like they have to kind of keep that conversation out of the public light. And I really feel that, and I've said this from the beginning, that if the conversation could move beyond this denial or this "trust me, bro, we've got it" kind of a vibe, if the conversation could move to an honest, yes, it's very bad, and an admission that we don't know what to do. And it's been not a short-term thing. It's been building for years, and we're at a loss as educators, as politicians, just to kind of take that moment to say, we don't know what to do. I honestly think that as a society, people would have empathy and would be on board to offer support and strategies to change the way things are. And I really do believe that. Now, I don't know. That seems to be impossible to have happen. And yet, I recently spoke with somebody who reminded me that the truth is on our side. And I have the view and opinion that the truth is persistent. It comes for us all. No one can hide from the truth. And so we can kind of walk with a confidence to say, as soon as our school divisions are ready to admit that there's this concentration of a problem in our community, as soon as they're ready to admit, I actually think we can start to make some progress. But we have to be honest about how bad it is. We have to admit there is a massive problem. We have to be able to admit that we've been unable to solve it on our own. And then, again, we have to have those attendance audits so that we can actually get a sense for how big of a problem it is. We have to have somebody walk in those schools, take attendance, actual physical count of the number of kids that are in attendance, and then we have to say this is going to take a village to address this problem, and I think that again, my olive branch and extension of grace to the school division would be that, this is bigger than the school division, and it's actually everyone is needed. Community members, community agencies, the school division itself, and this is one of the challenges that you cannot pass go until you just get that acknowledgement. And because I would like to be on to working with agencies in the community and all hands on deck to address this problem. But if we can't even get past the school division to have them say, yes, it's a major problem, and yes, we admit that we've been unsuccessful to solve it. If we can't get past that, then we're just going to end up in these odd little conflicts, and we won't make any progress. And so, and that I will say, I have a thing that bothers me, and it's critique of myself actually. I don't know if that's wise, but I will say this, that because we've been caught up in the conflict about the numbers, it's been very unfortunate that I've had to prove the numbers. And what it does is it makes it look like I'm disparaging schools in the community. And I'm not. I love schools that are schools in the community. I think there's amazing staff there. But if the school division keeps denying, then I'm going to be forced to actually prove to people that, no, this is how bad it is. And so I feel bad that that's what is required, and I wish we could just get past this and say, okay, we just admit it. Let's get some support into these schools in the community. Let's do everything we can to support them, to make sure there's outreach workers to reach out, and so that we can actually make progress on this. I was very encouraged this past throne speech this week. There was mention made of reach up and reach out, something to that effect, where there seems to be some sense that they're going to start to reach out and reach kids that are absent. But if I had a nickel for every promise made on strategies that were going to be executed and nothing came of them, I'd be a millionaire. And so I am reluctant to believe that something will really change. But again, the truth is persistent. It's coming for all of us, and again, I hope that one of the things about vision and optimism about a better future is that it's incumbent upon leadership to convince the people under their leadership that we can no longer stay here. It is untenable. It's impossible. We cannot stay here where we are anymore. And that is what will need to happen, because if we don't convince our Winnipeg One educators, the trustees, our local schools, if we can't convince them that we cannot stay here anymore, then we are going to be in for a very drastic and nightmarish future. Do we really want to imagine a future where the vast majority of kids from the North End just don't graduate? That's a horrible future to think about, and just how impeded their lives will be if they don't get the best possible education. And so this is where we are in the story. This is our cultural moment. We're hopeful that this new throne speech will actually have some substance to it, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to make some steps forward and see things change. By the time you listen to this, we will have had a community premiere, and we are looking forward to the results and what we're going to hear from our community about their view on the issue of absenteeism and what it is we are required to do together. I want to thank you guys for listening, and next time I promise you I won't just be me talking to myself. I'll have somebody beside me. I'm hoping to talk to Mallory Pledger. We had a wonderful first conversation. We're looking forward to having our second conversation. This week she's at an Indigenous education conference, and I know she's very excited about what she's learning there and very excited about what we can possibly do through our Engage education program in the future, and there'll be some exciting announcements coming on that. I want to thank you for listening to Dangerous Ideas for Social Change. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Dangerous Ideas for Social Change.